Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for tuning in for another episode in the Local Governance and Community Development series. Whether you are joining us live or you're watching the replay, it is a pleasure to have you joining us on this episode. If this is your first time tuning in, a warm welcome to you. It's so great to have you. And this episode, we are going to be talking about licensing and compliance. There in the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, at the Clarendon Municipal Corporation. Thank you for tuning in, Leisha. It's great to have you. Great to have you, Leisha. All right. So we are going to get the discussion started in a little bit. Miss Worrell, I trust you are ready for us to share what's happening there at the Municipal Corporation. Manners to you too, Noel Cummings. Thanks for tuning in. It's great to have you. Great evening. Good night, Empress. Great to have you. All right, so joining me in the Serenity Resource Connector space is the head of the Licensing and Compliance Department there at the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, none other than Sisona Worrell, Compliance Officer. Welcome back, Sisona. It's been about a year ago since you were here.
Thank you for having me. Good night. Yes, it has been a year.
Great to have
Time
you
really does
back.
fly, but it has been a year.
Right, but a lot has been happening. A whole lot has been happening, and I'm sure that there's still much more that we need to share with the viewers, whether they're tuning in live or they're going to be watching the replay. But we are going to be sharing with you all about the licensing and compliance department there at the Municipal Corporation. So, Sisona, tell us,
Thank you
what
so
is
much for having me
your
again.
portfolio all about? Because it might seem very simple to some, but I know it's a lot of work.
It is, but I love it. I am very passionate about the portfolio. I mean, I love what I do. And I think the corporation is working assiduously to ensure that we do have everything in place to suit our customers as best as possible.
Awesome. Good night, Jody Ann. Thanks for tuning in. Right. And the department is relatively new, 2019 formally.
That is correct, 2019. And I mean, I have a lovely team working with. So, of course, it has been nothing but, good work and success.
Beautiful, because you started out solo and now you have a team of people that's working with you.
Sure, and we hope for that team to even grow bigger. I mean, there's so much to get done and there's so much that we want to accomplish. So with the team, I mean, teamwork makes the dream work. So of course, having more persons on board would really contribute and ensure that we have everything that we need to have in place and will function to the best of our ability for sure.
Indeed. All right. So let's get into an introduction to the people that you actually provide
Sure.
licensing for.
Sure. So I would want our listeners or our viewers to know that I am the Licensing and Compliance Officer for the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, and we operate under the Places of Amusement Act as it relates to those who want to host events. Of course, they would need a permit. I also want to make mention of the Public Health Act, and for the act that Will definitely talks about barbers and hairdressers, beauty salons, beauty therapists, cosmetologists, hairdressers, nail techs, you name it. So of course we operate under those regulations and under those acts. I could just go right into what are the application processes for permits for barbers, for hairdressers, for butchers. And so I would like to start off with the butchers. I know a lot of persons, they are not aware that as a butcher, you need to be licensed. You need to have your butcher's license and you need to have your butcher's records book. So for those that will be doing slaughtering, of course, you must have that recorded. And so when the public health inspector comes to do his or her inspection, then that's the recording book that they would automatically looks into and ensure that they are standing off on the correct data that they need for their inspection. So let me just go back a little bit as it relates to the butchers. The criteria, it's pretty simple. You would just need your public health permit, and your public health permit, that's the primary criteria that you would want to ensure that you have. That's one of the elements that you must have before it is that you come to look about your butcher's application. So it all begins by you coming to the corporation, get a butcher's application form, have it filled out, and the criteria would have been the public health permit, your ID and your TRN. Your driver's license can be used as it will also carry your TRN, or you can have your government issued ID and a TRN. You would also want the applicable fee, which in that case is $3,050. I mean, it's only $3,050, and that $3,050 for your butcher's license, it lasts for a year. It is a yearly license that you get for that application process. Once all of that is submitted, we will then send it to our agencies that we work with. And that would have been the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Public Health Department. And so they will carry out their inspections and their investigation, and then they will make a recommendation to the Clarendon Municipal Corporation. Once that is done, we then take it to our annual and our third meeting, that's every month. So every month, that's the third Wednesday of each month that we go to the meeting for approval. So once you submit your application within that time frame, of course, once those recommendations are made by JCF and the Public Health Department, it will get approval at meeting. Then we are able to prepare your license, inform you, and then they are being granted. So that's how it works for the butcher's application.
So it's really a process that requires the coming together of the different
agencies that are aboard
in the space. Right. And we just indicate here that we had discussion with the health department last year when you were on, and we talked extensively. Mrs. Greenbaker would have shared extensively on the public health side. So in the description of on YouTube, you will see the link to that previous discussion. So you can get the other side of the story from the health department more in depth as to why it is that things are the way they are as it relates to the health concerns.
Most definitely.
Right. Go right ahead, Sisona. We have a number of other areas.
Sure. So
we move from the butchers too.
Right. So we move from the butchers now. We're on to the beauty industry, as I will name it. So if you're an esthetician, if you are a barber, if you are a hairdresser, a nail technician, a cosmetologist, and I also want to make mention of if you are a tattoo artist, if you are an artist that does piercing, if it is that you are a makeup artist, of course, it requires for you to have your license. A lot of persons will ask, why is it that I am certified and then I still need a license? I really just want to make that clear. When you study in a field and you have that certificate, it means that you are certified to operate based on what you have studied and what you have mastered. But it does not legally gives you a license to say that you are legally in a position to operate on the public per se and on individuals. And then that is where public health comes in to place again, all those health implications, all those facilities that needs to be inspected. And I will get there when it comes down to the barbershop and the beauty salon license. So of course, once it is that you are a cosmetologist, barber, hairdresser, etc., you would definitely need a license here at the corporation to be legally able to operate within your field. What's the application process for that? Again, it is pretty simple. You would come to the corporation, get one of those application forms, have it filled out, and submit your public health permit. I cannot, say this just enough. You need the public health permit, you need your ID and your TRN, and the applicable fee. In the case of it being a individual license, the cost for any individual license is $3,000. However, if you are a beauty therapist, which is also an individual license, then the cost for that is $3,500. For the individual applications, once those are submitted and they are recommended by the department and the necessary agencies, they will go to the meeting for approval, and then we will have those licenses being granted. Someone might want to know what's the time frame like for that license to be approved of. The maximum time that it will take for an individual license to be approved of would have been 2 weeks. Some persons are lucky enough to get it within 3 to 4 days because they might just submit their individual application the day before meeting or 2 days before meeting, and it would have been recommended by then, and then it will go to the meeting for approval. It will take like 2 to 3 days from that to have them prepared and have them granted to the individual applicants. I also want to go ahead and speak about the beauty salon and the barbershop license. So as it relates to the beauty salon and the barbershops, that procedure is a little bit different and it might take a little longer. And that would lead up to the duration of up to a month for you to get your barbershop and your beauty salon license approved of. The barbershop license and the beauty salon application process works just the same. So you would come, have your application submitted there at the corporation, and of course you would need 2 passport size pictures signed and stamped by JP if it is that you are a first-time applicant. But if you're doing a renewal, then you don't have to have that signed and certified by JP. The corporation can do a original identity. So we make the process a little bit easier for you. You would need the public health permit, those photographs, and you'll need your ID and your TRN, and of course the applicable fee. For a first-time applicant applying for a barbershop or a beauty salon application, the cost for that is $4,000. However, when you are doing a renewal, it becomes a little bit lesser, and that would have been $3,500. So of course, I'll just go over what the application process is. Once you have all your documents submitted, which would have been your public health permit, your ID, your TRN, and the applicable fee, of course, you just submit that along with your application forms. This is where it might take a little bit more time rather than the individual license, because they must go to our agencies that we work with in terms of having these licenses recommended and approved of. That's the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Public Health Department. So, of course, they would carry out their inspections. And from those inspections that are carried out, they will then make their recommendation. Once those recommendations are made and submitted to the corporation, then they will go to meeting for approval. So that's how the process works as it relates to the beauty salons and the barbershop license or the application process.
Jody and Scott had a question. What are the benefits that are available to licensed cosmetologists, barbers, etc.?
Of course, there are a lot of benefits. And before I get down into the benefits, I just want to, continue to encourage those within that beauty industry and that beauty field that is so booming right now to ensure that they get all their licenses up to par. And it has been a business adventure for them. And one of the benefits is that license, if it is that you're going to look about your registration for your company or the registration for your business, for your beauty salon or your barbershop, you need that license. You need a physical license, just to be clear, to have that business registered for sure. And then there are other cases. Well, I primarily mean to say that you should not be operating without a license. So that's the biggest benefit, of actually having you legally or having you licensed to operate that business as it relates to your field or your craft of being a barber or a hairdresser or a beauty therapist, etc. And then we
Yes.
have individuals just as simple as wanting to conduct bank businesses. The bank would require you to have that license to show. So there are other benefits, but primarily those are some that I wanted to make mention of, and those that are very easy for persons to be able to relate to. And as you know, it's so the time now is so modernized. Persons, almost every business will utilize a card machine. For sure, it is the requirement for you to have those license for you to be able to achieve those stuff, which you will definitely benefit from because it only makes your business works better and easier, and it also pleases your customers in terms of making things a little bit more easy to operate with and to be done in a timely manner. So thank you for that question.
Yes, great question, because there are clients like myself who look for those registration certificates to ensure that you are actually licensed to be performing those services that you're introducing. So that's another thing. It lends credibility to your business. So if there are, say, persons who are moving into the area and they're checking out a new hairdressing salon, barber shop, they want to make sure that those things are in place before they actually trust you to
And
actually
sometimes,
perform the service.
right, just to add, sometimes it's from an international level. Sometimes you have persons coming into your parish, um, international wise coming in who wants to, network with you, want to do businesses and have their air shows and have their products being, promoted and launched and so forth. They definitely need to see those paperworks being done and legal before they get into the business adventure of doing business with you. So of course it does has a lot of benefits as it relates to you having your license up to par, I would say, not an expired one.
Indeed. And it's 1 year, correct?
It is 1 year. And
Right.
I also want to mention, because we at the corporation, we have a lot of customers who, when I speak internationally, they would have a lot of programs that they want to go on, especially within the Cayman Islands and the small islands and the small countries and so forth. They definitely need their license to be able to go to operate in another country. So it does benefit us in a wide capacity as we look at it.
Indeed. All right. So we have covered butchers. So for those who are just tuning in, we went through the butchers, we went through the beauty industry, covering your barbers, hairdressers, the what do we refer to them as?
Right. The lash technicians.
Lash technicians. All
Right.
right. All right. And tattoo artists, and the list goes on. Anyone in
Makeup
those
artists.
area will be covered under that section. All right, beautiful. But then you have another category, and that's the places of amusement.
Right.
Tell us about that part.
That's one of our customers' favorite, the places of amusement. So the places of amusement, in a nutshell, and for our listeners and our viewers, that is basically the permit that you would need to be able to host your event. I must say though that we have two types of permits that we approve of or we grant to the applicants, and that's a permit for a event and a permit for your venue. So there is a difference. The permit for your venue, that lasts for a year, and what that does is that it permits your venue to be able to host events right through that year or for the period that you would have made your application for. That is different from the permit for the event. So though you would have your business place and your lounges and on all those lovely spaces and areas that you know venture off in terms of offering it as a business for entertainment, of course you would need to have your venue license for that purpose. The venue license, though, I must say that we have a bit of a challenge at the corporation, and so we see the gap and when we see the need, and so we are working on it. The thing is that for the criteria for the venue license, you would need your insurance and you need that fire certificate. While it may be easier for the applicants to obtain that fire certificate, there's a challenge for them to obtain that insurance. And so we know that we have our customers who are willing and ready to have their venues being licensed. However, the corporation is working on that to ensure that we can have something, some terms and conditions or something that can be worked out temporarily to ensure that we can now start having those venues being licensed. So the corporation is still working on that to ensure that we have that criteria covered. And of course, once that is done, our valid customers would be informed as to how and when they can have their licensed venue sorted out. I want to move now on to a little bit as it relates to the permit for the event. All right, so the permit for the event, the application process works as you coming into the corporation, have that application form filled out, and the criteria is just your ID and your TRN and the applicable fee. Once that is done, then of course we again send a copy to our agencies that we work with, which would have been the Public Health Department and the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Fire Department. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, persons may ask why for each agency, why it is that they have to be sent to those departments for them to send their recommendations. For the Jamaica Constabulary Force, for JCF, they would need to check the character of the individual. They will need to check the facility, if it is up to par. And as it relates to the Noise Abatement Act that the JCF operates under, they must send us that recommendation for us to have a approval granted, especially for those that will be utilizing music, which is almost the case for every event that is being held. For the Public Health Department, as the name suggests, they would need to check the health aspect of that application. So of course you want to check and to ensure that you have running water, you have for those who will be selling food, you will have your food handler's permit. You want to ensure that you have bathrooms facilities, and of course for the fire department, they want to check and ensure that should a fire break out, that you will have everything in place. You and the corporation will also be doing their checks to ensure that those terms and conditions that you sign to, that they are being adhered to. And you want to ensure that the facility is suitable to accommodate the amount of persons you would like to accommodate at your event. So once those inspections are being done and those recommendations are sent to the corporation, then they will go to meeting once again every third Wednesday of each month to have those approvals going. And once that happens, then of course we will grant those permits. We will definitely call our applicants and have them informed to come and pick up their permits once it is being granted. And if it is not, they are informed, and they also have the chance of doing an appeal should they not feel satisfied as to why or what's the reason behind their permits not being granted. So of course, that would have been the difference between our venue license and our individual license as it relates to places of amusement. The fees, of course, we have the classes of events. For class D, which is the smallest one, that the costing for that is $5,000, and that is 300 and below persons. Once you're having 300 and below persons there at the corporation, then you would have that class D costing, and that's $5,000. Once it is above 300 but not more than 1,000, then that's $15,000, and that's a Class B event. Once it is above 1,000 but not exceeding 2,000, that's $30,000, and if it's 2,000 and above, then that's $40,000. And those costing and those fees, they comes with a package, so you're able to get your 10 by 10 tents, your feather banners, etc., to be able to put up for free. So of course, customers love that they're getting a package. So that's how it works as it relates to your permits for your venue and your permits for your event. I also want to make mention as it relates to our promotional events. Our promotional events, of course, that application can be done a little bit different, as from time to time we would try to cover our applicants who are not in parish. So we do have applicants that are outside of our parish. So those applicants they are being facilitated online. And so once it is that they send us their request, once that request is made via email, we will definitely reach out to the applicants. We will have their quotation being prepared, and they would also need to complete the application form, and then it goes through the same processing where the other agencies are involved, send us their recommendation, and for sure JCF with their no objection letters for the promotional event application. So once that is done, of course, the applicants will make their necessary payments, and the permits will have been approved of, and so they're able to host their events for promotion wise. So for example, we having Digicel or Nestle or Flow or Grace, I mean, you name it, and you have persons within our parish that would have their small events, but then they operate it from a promotional base. So of course, we do cater to those types of applicants as well. And the procedures are the same, and the costing for that permit starts at $6,000. So there you have it as it relates to our places of amusement permits for promotional events, for daily events, or special events, or one-off events, and of course for the events for your venue. There's something else that I would like to mention for our listeners.
Are you seeing? Are you seeing the question?
You were out for a little bit, so you're now back, and
Okay.
I haven't seen any questions.
All right. What about those who are operating in Spalding, Skellig area?
Of
Or not?
course, we have our own stations. We saw the need for that, and that is something that I also want. We want for it to grow, where we can probably even venture off into the south area. So currently, we are going up into the northern part of Clarendon, and so we refer to that as Higher Clarendon, and we look at Kellits and Spaldings and the neighboring communities that falls within those areas. Of course, we have our odd stations, and persons might be asking us, what's that odd station? What is really our odd station? is really the corporation moving from our administrative building, from our main office, and we are out there in your community, we're out there in your space, like just some footsteps away, where you could come and have your applications done, have your permits being granted, or have your license being granted, and it's just as easy as that. So the same procedure that you would go through coming to our administrative building, then it is the same thing that you would be able to experience when it is that we have our outstations. That is very helpful, that is very important for those types of customers, because they are so far and they have been having that challenge coming to our location there in Mapen at our administrative building. And so it has been nothing but a success thus far. I mean, the customers are loving it. Everyone loves convenience. And so it was important for us to venture off in terms of doing that. And so we are so happy that we were able to start hosting and start having our outstations.
All right, beautiful. Julian coming in with the questions. Can I apply for a permit for someone else? And can I pick up a permit for that someone else?
Most definitely. The corporation, the thing is about the corporation, the corporation does not limit their customers in terms of having them going at ease as access, for sure. So of course you can apply on behalf of someone. How do you do that? You would need your ID and TRN and the person's ID and TRN. You can submit the physical ID and TRN for that applicant, or you can have it copied and have a JP sign and stamp to verify the true identity of that applicant. Once that is done, you'd be able to do the application in care of the applicant. That's the ID, the TRN, the submit the applicable fee, have that done and have the permit being granted. It is really as easy as that. So of course you can apply for someone. Can you pick up on behalf of someone? For sure you may. We at the corporation, we have a form that we refer to as the permission form in terms of you picking up on behalf of someone. So once you come to do the application in advance, you can always sign that form and take it with you. And once the individual will be coming to pick up on your behalf, they can submit that form. If it is that you did not get a chance to sign to one of those forms, then of course you just write a letter stating that you are giving the person permission to pick up on your behalf along with your ID and the receipt number, and you should be fine. It's very much as easy as that. So of course you can apply on behalf of someone and you can pick up on behalf of someone.
Beautiful. All right. There was another question from Jordan about refund policy, but Ms. Thomas took that one in the chat. All right. So we can move on to the other area.
I mean, I could answer to that just in case we have other listeners or viewers that won't be able to see if Miss Thomas, responds to that or not. So yes, you can get a refund if it is that your permit was not being approved of, or something happens and you were unable to host your event. Now that being said, if you were unable to host your event and it was not held, of course, some investigations would needed to be carried out by the corporation before that refund can be granted. But let's say that you applied for your permit and it was not being approved of, it was not recommended, it was not granted. Of course, you can get a refund. How do I get a refund? There is a process for that. You would need to write a letter to the corporation stating that the reason behind you requesting a refund, stating also the receipt number and your contact details. Once you have expressed that in that letter, the letter will then be submitted to the necessary departments where the investigations will be carried out. Once that is done, then your refund is provided by the accounts department and you should be fine.
Lovely.
Yes.
I'm sure Julian is quite content with that response. And for those who were wondering before, there you have it.
Right. That question was a good question. I mean, persons tend to ask that questions a lot, and some persons are not aware. So it's important for them to be aware of what can be done and what cannot be done. And so can it be done? How can it be done? What's the procedure? What do I need to do? Because sometimes we have some expectations and it's not as easy as we think, it is, especially when it comes down to working with government agencies. So we must follow procedures, and that's just one of them.
Right. And this series began with the CEO sharing that the municipal corporation is actually governed by legislations, right?
They
There are
are
acts that you're guided by. And so,
right.
if it is that we want to change, then we need to be a part of the conversation to effect change. But as is, that's what we're working with. So, of course, there's always the opportunity to offer suggestions for improvement. And when we have those public consultations to ensure that our voices are heard if we want to see things improve in different areas.
I mean, I love when our customers are connected on that platform. It's not just for you to just come and always apply. Share your recommendations, ask us the questions. We are more than happy to assist, and we're more than happy to be a listening here. So of course, once we are doing that, then we're able to improve and to serve you better. And again, to the best of our ability. The corporation states that we're working for you always, and I don't think we have ever stopped. So I mean,
Indeed.
make your suggestions. I mean, when you come to the office, drop off your suggestions as to what area you think we need to improve on, or what are the challenges that you're facing, and or you could just put it in writing. Send us an email. I must say though that you can submit an email directly to the department at places of amusement cmc@gmail.com. And I just want to repeat that once more. Places of amusement cmc@gmail.com. You can also send us an email to the corporation at Clarendon Municipal Corporation cmc@gmail.com. That's Clarendon Municipal Corporation cmc@gmail.com. Or you could give us a call at 986-2216. So there you have many options in terms of communicating with us. We have no problem in trying to assist as always.
Beautiful. All right. For those who might not have got it earlier, can you reiterate in terms of places of amusement some of those businesses that would fall in that category to make sure that we're all clear?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. This is where it gets juicy for us,
Oh,
because I
yes.
realize that a lot of persons are not aware that if you are hosting a wake, you would need a permit. If you are hosting your church convention, you need a permit. If you're hosting a party, a football tournament, I mean, once it is that you're having any form of gathering, you would need a permit. Of course, you do need a permit. So it's not just to say that I am hosting a party, I need a permit, but I am hosting this and I don't need a permit. Once you're having a gathering, using your music or not, you definitely need your permit to do so. If you're even having your wedding receptions, there are certain businesses that also need your permits, and I want to speak on that a little bit. So if you have certain hall and certain auditorium and certain areas, of course you would need to have your place of amusement permit. The corporation would have reached out to some already, and we still have a few that we need to be in contact with just to make them aware. As one of our challenge, and as Mrs. Witter, probably you'll be getting into that, or we can just go right into it right now, as it relates to the
Certainly, go
challenges
right
that
ahead.
we're facing as it relates to places of amusement, barbers, hairdressers, butchers, license and permits in our term. We do realize that persons, I mean, recently we would probably say that we have 50% of our customers and our applicants being aware of the need for their permits or the need for their license and the areas in which that is covered. But we also know that 50% of our customers are not aware. And so the question might be arise what it is that we are doing to hinder that from happening or to improve in that part. And I must say that we are definitely working. We are on a campaign right now to create public awareness. And when we go to these outstations, we don't just go there to do applications. We go there and we do our promotions, and we have our town hall meetings, and we have our discussions, and we speak with the customers, and we share our flyers, and we just create public awareness in any way, in any form that we can. It's also important for us to follow our social media platforms, as you'll be informed almost daily, as it relates to the portfolio or something about the corporation, of your interest, that is. So we are definitely trying to create public awareness. We're utilizing our social media platforms. We are out in your communities. We're out in your spaces. We are on our websites. So it's important for you to be in the know. And a way of doing that is for us to create public awareness, so you can be able to know what you need to do, how you need to do, to get your job done. So yes.
All right, beautiful. All right. So we're hearing here that very informative. Empress is saying very informative. And there's another comment that you represent the corporation well. And I agree with that. Right.
Thank
And
you.
on that list of public education, we have the local governance and community development series here every fourth Thursday. We have gone through almost all the departments at the Clarendon Municipal Corporation. So you can check out the playlist and see the different areas that you would have missed. We started with the CEO giving an overview as to the difference between the role of the CEO and that of the mayor. Then we had the mayor coming on to share about his portfolio, and we had highlights of the different acts that govern the different operations and the different committees that are involved in the decision making for the municipal corporation. And we would have had discussions with the head of several other departments, including the planning, including commercial services. We had a disaster preparedness. We
For
had
relief,
poor relief last
roads and
month,
works
Roads
department.
and Works Department, and we still have some more to go. So you want to tune in to see the other discussions that we have had, so you can get a better understanding as to the services that are offered at the municipal corporation. And it is a good look
Right.
that the municipal corporation is going all out to ensure that the public is made aware of what it is that's been done there and creating greater access.
Working for you always. That's it. Working for you always. I
Indeed.
also would like to add on the notion of your permits being revoked. I want to start off with the barbers and the hairdressers and the butchers. Your permits are not, your license are not just revoked like that. If it is that you have some health challenges or health implications, and it might affect the customers of yours, then of course, if there's a disease, if there's something that is unhealthy for the space, of course public health would have been the one to make that recommendation for your license to be revoked or for your license to not be recommended. Also, on the other side of that, person probably would not have been aware. So for the butchers, I would just say, because you're dealing with meat and stuff, of course you need to ensure that sanitation and health is at its priority, and it's best as it relates to that. Because that's something that person will be consuming. So it's important for those stuff to be 100% up to par. For you not having your license, because for you to be up to par, of course, you need to have your license. And for you not to have your license and operating illegally, there is a penalty for that. For the butchers, the regulation, it would stipulate for you to, the thing is that any person who contravenes or fails to comply with any of the provisions or the regulations shall be guilty of an offense, and shall be liable on summary conviction before a resident magistrate, and to a fine not exceeding $2,000, and in default of payment, to imprisonment to a term not exceeding 12 months. So that's how it works for the butchers. I mean, who would like to go to prison for 12 months because I don't have a license? That is so easy to get. As it relates to barbers and hairdressers, when public health comes to do their inspection, of course, it is important for them to inspect you as the individual and to inspect the facility that you're operating in. And for you to not have your license, you can be charged. You're operating illegally. And for barbers and hairdressers, that is $20,000. That's like triple time the cost of one of your license. So you can be charged, or the fine that you would be able to pay would have been $20,000 minimum, and or 12 months imprisonment. For places of amusement is $10,000. The cost for a Class D permit right now is $5,000. If it is that you are operating or having an event without a permit, that costing would have been $10,000 or 3 months imprisonment. And I'm saying avoid all these penalties. Avoid all these penalties by being in the know, and just get your things up to par, and then we wouldn't, or we shouldn't have any problems. So of course, I loved for you listeners and viewers to be aware of that.
Indeed. This is a good point to ask this question that came in before the program, the live. Why is it necessary for barbers, hairdressers to have a separate permit from the salon?
All right, so I'll break it down as easy as possible, and I'll tell you just as it is. In layman terms, the thing is that your beauty salon or your barbershop, that license goes specifically to your facility. So you can own a barbershop or you can own a beauty salon, but you don't operate within that shop or as a hairdresser or a barber. But you need to have that shop license, because that license speaks specifically to the place, specifically to the facility and to the environment within that facility. So of course, you would need to have that shop license. For your individual license, it speaks to you as an individual. That license, you are more mobile with that license. And if it is that you, for example, you rent a station, because you have persons who they're just a cosmetologist, they're just a barber, but they don't own the shop. So of course, if you own the shop and you are a barber or hairdresser, etc., you would need to have two licenses, and that would have been a license for your shop versus a license for you as an individual. So there are two types of license, and of course they are different. So it's important for you to be able to have your space and your shop being licensed, because what that license carries for your facility, it does not carry the same for the individual. And that is why the process is so different. So for your barbershop or your beauty salon, it goes through a different application process. Public health would have to do their inspection to ensure that that facility is up to par. It is safe, it is healthy for persons to go in and have their whatever it is done, their hair, their nails, etc. So the facility must be up to par and recommended by the health department for you to get a license for your shop or for your beauty salon, versus you as an individual, again, I say that application process is different. You would just need to submit your public health permit. So you would have had to done your public health session where you would take that public health exam to ensure that the public health department is satisfied that for a year time you are able as an individual to go and operate on persons. So yes, there is a major difference. One speaks to the facility and one speaks to you as an individual.
Indeed. And then there are categories of license where it's not just getting a license and then that's it. There are training that's ongoing training
Most
every 2
definitely.
years, that is, and that would be the individual license.
Right. So every
Right.
year actually they have public health, they have to go through a training with public health. For
Okay.
both shop and both individual. Every year they have to go through that training to ensure that they are up to par when they go out there to operate. And a lot of persons are not aware we do have trainee license. The cost for a trainee license is only $500. So persons who want to venture off in that field and they want to start, whether you're at a school level, or if you're 18 and over and you want to start and you want to have your internship or your practice out in some barbershops or beauty salons or just at a station, you can get a trainee license. So it's important, and it's important for the schools out there to be aware of that also. So they're aware and they're advised to themselves and to the students, because you have a lot of beauty schools happening out there, and then you have a lot of persons who wants to go out there to get that full-on training and that full-on experience before they venture off on their own. So of course we have what is called a trainee license, and that trainee license lasts for a year.
All right. Let's take this question from Ramona Lawson. Would the municipal corporation have considered the impact of COVID on the livelihood of barbers, hairdressers when pursuing the collection of permit fees?
What I would like to tell that listener, that viewer, is that the fees are standardized. The corporation is not able to just go and deduct a fee or raise a fee. Whatever it is that was approved of by the committee, that's what the corporation would have to work with, unless they are back at the drawing board. So I mean, if it is that there are a challenge or there are some concerns, they can always write to the corporation for them to make a decision on that part. There were grants, I can safely say, that were being issued, and there were, I would say, 80% of my customers were able to benefit from it. No, I also must say the 20% that were probably not able to benefit from it is that their public health permit were it was not up to par. They did not have an up-to-date license, etc. I mean, there could have been other issues, but from what I would have realized from the data that I would have collected, then that would have been, one of the major issues. So it's important for you to always have your license renewed and to have that up to date at all times. Back to what I was saying now, of course they can always write to the corporation, but there were grants that were being issued out for those who were faced, with COVID during that period. So they got some benefits from it, I would say. The fees, it has been that fees for years. And I think, my customers or those that does business with the corporation from that department, which is the license and compliance department, should be grateful, should be happy about that there is no raise of fee on that part. So I would say if there's something else that you request or want or needed to be done, put it in writing to the corporation and let the committee makes that decision to see if there is any way that they could help.
All right. But based on what has been happening, have you had any challenge of that nature with the clients as it relate customers as it relates to fees, payment of fees?
Yes, we do have we did, I should say, because most are probably trying to clear up that time period that they weren't able to come in office. And that was again I would probably say fall under public awareness. Some persons weren't aware and believe that, oh, it was COVID, so I didn't know that I need to come and renew my license. But when you ask, were you in operation? Yes, miss, sometimes. Yes, sir, sometimes. It's a yearly license that you get. And so it's in our system for you to have your license renewed. I also want to make mention of this. Let's say that you would, be off the island, or you'll no longer be in operation for a period of time. Well, I must stay for a year, because that license that you applied for, it carries you through the entire year. So if you are not in operation for 6 months, that onus would have been on you on your license, because it lasts for a year. That's up to you. But you should have your license renewed, and once you have that done, then you should not have any issues. Once it is that you explain to these applicants, how it works or what is expected of them, then of course they have a better understanding, and we try to have a good relationship with our customers, so we shouldn't be having so much of an issue and so much of a challenge. But of course, there were persons who weren't aware that they should still come in and look about their license, because it lasts for a year.
All right. And I'm sure it wasn't just the municipal corporation, because I know our friends over there at the tax administration department had a lot of that to deal with the businesses not knowing that they should still file their taxes.
Right.
Once you have a license, the legal requirements still stand.
Right.
So when in doubt, seek guidance. That's the best way to go. Don't just say, all right, things weren't happening, but seek guidance from the requisite source. All right.
Right. And that is why I had mentioned that if you are not going to be in operation, write to the corporation and let us know. Let us put that on your file. Let us put your record on hold, so that you will not be charged for a year that you were not in operation for. But the corporation, they would not have been aware if you didn't inform them, unless on our annual inspections and times, then we would have been, aware or realized. So it's important for you to just make us aware. If it's even by email or just in writing, it should help.
All right.
And we
We
have a
are
welcoming department. We try to facilitate our customers to the core. If you come and we are able to assist you in any way, shape, or form to have your records, up to date, and your business being done, come on in. We help you. If you are there and time is running against you, and we are able to assist you in terms of filling out your application forms, don't be afraid. We just want to know, what are you applying for? What are you here for? Give us the information, and we'll be more than happy to assist you in getting the job done. Compliance is key. We just want to ensure that you are being compliant.
okay, which means that there are payment arrangements for those who find themselves in some challenges.
Most definitely, there are payment. Come in and talk to us. Come in and talk to us, and we'll be able to facilitate you.
All right. We are coming up to the 1 hour mark, but we don't want to close without indicating the upcoming dates for those outstations in Northern Clarendon.
Right.
Where are you going to be? Which dates?
For December 13, we should be in Spaldings, and for December 15, we should be in Kellett. So yes, I am excited. The corporation is excited. We are excited. The team is excited. We love it out there, and so we want to encourage you to come out and utilize our outstations to have your permits being done, your permits as it relates to your events, and to have your license being done as it relates to butchers, barbers, hairdressers, you name it. And of course, I would just want to take this opportunity, or this final opportunity, to just tell them about our email address, or ways in which they can contact us. Again, Clarendon Municipal Corporation, cmc@gmail.com, or Places of Amusement, cmc@gmail.com, or they could contact us at 986-2216.
All right, beautiful. Thank you so much. All right, so for those who weren't aware, now you know there's a licensing and compliance department there at the Clarendon Municipal Corporation where you can go and get additional details as to regularizing your operation if you're not yet licensed.
Sure.
If you're not compliant, you're licensed, but you're not compliant, you can go in and make the necessary arrangement. And Melbourne McPherson have been sharing some great stuff in the comment section. So you want to watch the replay if you missed it, so you can catch up on that. Thank you, Ms. Worrell, for taking time out of your Thanksgiving dinner to share with us here on the Serenity Resource Connector. Very important information for our citizens to be made aware of. And I invite, as always, those who are tuned in to share the information. I trust that the head of the Barbers and Hairdressers Association there in Clarendon is on, and you'll be sharing the link with those in your network. Thank you all for tuning in, whether you're live with us or you're watching the replay. We do this. We have one more episode for 2022 in this series and the others. So you want to join us first Thursday for the next episode of Culture Corner. Very exciting stuff. You don't want to miss it. So thank you again for joining us. Miss Worrell, continue to enjoy the rest of the Thanksgiving.
Thank you
All right.
so much for having me. And on behalf of
Pleasure.
the License and Compliance Department and the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure being here.
Same here. All right. You can all continue to stay safe and have a good night.